Next topic is, once again someone is saying that he's facing problem with the sound. All of you are facing problem with the sound, because broken sound could be a problem of internet connectivity at times. So please check your internet connectivity as well. There could be any issue. Okay, great. So now today I want to discuss this topic, quantitative techniques or quantitative analysis, or it is also called quantitative aids in budgeting. Now what does it mean? Quantitative analysis, quantitative techniques, or quantitative aids in budgeting. Basically, it is covering three main areas or three main topics. First one is high-low method, but not only the simple high-low method which you studied earlier. It also includes a simultaneous equation. I will do MCQs with you in which I will use or I will make simultaneous equation. Second very important topic of this chapter is learning curve theory. Most of the students struggle with the learning curve theory. Today I will try to do a number of MCQs from the learning curve theory with you to make sure that you will not face any problem, any further problem with the learning curve theory. There are three approaches. Usually we use two, or usually there are two different approaches are asked by the examiner in the question. So we will learn both the approaches. And the third very important thing is correlation. Although it was important, or it was slightly important in prior studies of management accounting, now it is not very much important in the F5, but you can expect 2 marks or you can expect one MCQ from this area. Learning curve theory, it can be asked in section A as a 2 mark question. Learning curve theory can be asked a complete, suppose 10 marks question in section B, although it will not be a complete learning curve theory. Examiner will ask mix of what? Mix of learning curve theory and target costing. Examiner can combine this with the target costing. If we could not manage time today because there are number of MCQs to be discussed, then I will upload a section C question which is big cheese chair, which includes the concept of target costing and learning curve theory both. So you will be able to learn this concept with this with that recorded lecture, and we have completely solved a question for 20 marks, which is a mix of target costing and learning curve theory. High-low method, again, high-low method is not important for 20 marks. High-low method is even not important for 10 marks. Maybe there could be an MCQ of 2 marks, or maybe there will be no MCQ from the high-low method, but it will be a part of question. It is possible that examiner will ask a question which includes what? Which includes data relating to total overheads and total units. You need to calculate your variable cost per unit and fixed cost per period. But you cannot ignore any topic in the F5, because all of the topics in F5 are important for examination purposes. Although its weightage vary. As I told you that overall quantitative techniques may be possible. A high-low method is part of a question. Learning curve is a part of question. Correlation is asked for 2 marks. So in total, examiner is going to ask, suppose 6 marks or 8 marks from this area. So 8 marks means too much marks, especially if it is part of section A or B, or even it is part of section C. But specifically when it is part of section A and B, and if it is asked for 8 marks, it means you can get full 8 marks, because in section A and B you are dealing with MCQs. So you can go get full 8 out of 8. So to reach 50, if you scored 8 from this area, Now you need 42 more marks to pass the exam. Although I am not saying that your target should be 50 marks, your target should be more than the 50 marks, 60, 70, or whatever you want to achieve. But initially, when we are planning our exams, when we are sitting in the exams, when we start our paper, we need to save ourselves and we need to make sure that how to achieve first 50 marks. And after that, we will put too much efforts on the additional or bonus marks. And remember one thing, section A and section B must be strong, although focus of our classes is to discuss section C questions mainly. And I have discussed section C questions in the previous classes, in the previous session, and I will discuss the section C question in upcoming classes. But specifically for this topic, I feel necessary to discuss MCQs. When I will discuss MCQs with you, you will be able to deal with section B and section C questions as well. And hopefully you will be able to uh, I think access last session's recordings by the start of the May or by the mid of the May, so you will be able to attend number of questions. Okay, clear? Understood everyone? The importance of this topic? Okay, now we are going to start with the first MCQ. It is relevant with high-low method. It is relevant with simple high-low method. Okay. Simple high-low method is what? First of all, I would like to write few steps of a simple high-low method. What are the steps of the simple high-low method? Now my voice is clear. In fact, you think that I am far from my mic. I am not far from my mic. My mic is fixed at one place. It may be possible at times I am speaking loud and at times my voice is low. It is not that my mic is far. My mic is fixed at one place. Okay. Now we are heading towards, first of all, we will discuss high-low method or basic concept of high-low method or basic steps of high-low method, which are usually not memorized by the students, especially students of the F5, because they are developing concepts of the advanced topics and they think that they are they are comfortable with the high-low method and they will be able to attempt a high-low method question or high-low method MCQ whenever it will be asked. But when it was asked in the question by the examiner or even when they are doing practice at home, they are unable to attempt the high-low method because they always forget the basic steps of the high-low method. So I would like you to write down the basic steps of high-low method. Step number one is always to basic purpose of high-low method is what? Purpose of high-low method is to divide total overheads into two portions. First portion is called what? First portion is called variable overheads. It could be variable overheads per unit or it could be variable overheads per hour is equal to, remember one thing, normally whenever you are writing the formula, your focus is numerator. But here, first of all, you will find denominator from the data or from the question. So you will write here highest activity level. Highest activity level means highest number of units or highest number of hours, and either hours will be machine hours or either hours will be labor hours, minus lowest activity level. Once again, activity level means same. Now you will write down here total overheads of highest activity level. So first of all, you determined your denominator, then you are writing your numerator, which is related with the denominator. Similarly, minus total overheads of lowest activity level. I mentioned the dollar sign here, which means in the numerator, you will show dollar or you will write total overheads in dollar, either for the highest activity level and lowest activity level. And these are the two activity levels. It could be either units or it will be hours. Clear? Step number one. Then after calculating total overheads per unit or per hour, you will move on to the, variable overheads per unit and per hour. You will move towards the second step, which is called total variable overheads. Now to calculate total variable overheads, you will multiply variable overheads per unit, which you determined in your step number one, or variable overhead per hour, the same one which you determined step number one, multiplied with highest or lowest activity level. You will multiply it with what? You will multiply it with either with highest activity level or you will multiply it with the lowest activity level. With either of the activity level you can multiply. It's up to your choice. There is no restriction in the concept that either to use only highest or lowest. But remember one thing, variable cost is the cost which varies with activity level. It means when you will use highest activity level, your total variable overheads will be high, but when you will use lowest activity level, your total variable overheads will be low. So don't worry, because you remember this thing, that variable cost is the cost which will vary with the level of activity. And the third step is total fixed overheads. It is equal to what? It is equal to total overheads minus total variable overheads. And you have calculated your total variable overheads where you determined your total variable overheads in the part or in step number two. But remember one thing, if you are using total overheads for the highest activity level, then you will use total overhead variable overheads from the highest activity level. Similarly, if you use total overheads for the lowest activity level, then you will deduct total variable overheads of the lowest activity level. In the third step, you need to take care of this thing, that you will use relevant activity level or you will use the total overheads of the relevant activity level and total variable overheads of the relevant activity level. But remember one thing, what is this total fixed cost? Fixed cost is the amount which does not vary with the level of activity. So it means either you use total variable overheads and total overheads from the highest activity level, or either you use total variable overheads and total overheads from the lowest activity level. Your fixed overheads or fixed cost will remain same. It does not vary with the activity level. Clear? Total variable overheads will vary, but total fixed overheads will not vary. And the step number four is, if it is asked by the examiner in the question, it is y is equal to a plus bx. Now what is this y? Y stands for total overheads. A stands for total fixed overheads. B stands for total variable overheads either per unit or per hour. Multiplied with what? Multiplied with activity level. And once again, remember this thing, activity level is normally either units, or your activity level could be your labor hours or machine hours. So these are the four steps which are relevant with the high-low method, especially relevant with the basic high-low method concept which we studied earlier. And it is at time asked in the target costing question. It could be asked like flexible budgeting or flex budget questions, and a high-low method is relevant with the life cycle costing question. Especially it is very much relevant with the flexible budget and flex budget questions. Done, everyone? Now learn one new thing regarding the high-low method. At times in the question, you are not provided with the units or the labor hours. You are provided with the sales revenue. One column is saying your sales revenue, and the other column is having advertisement expenditure. Now both are in dollar. Nothing is given in the form of units. Nothing is given in the form of hours. Now what to do? How to distinguish your activity level, and what will be treated as total overheads? Then you will follow the principle of independent variable and dependent variable. Although you are following the same principle in above first four steps, activity level is called what? Activity level is independent variable, and the total overheads is called what? Total overheads is called dependent variable. Because if you will increase your number of units, your total overheads will definitely rise. If you will decrease your activity level, your total overheads will definitely fall. But it is easy to allocate in such type of questions where we have units and overheads, or we have hours and overheads. Problem usually lies with such type of question or MCQs, or students face problem with this MCQ where they have sales revenue in one column and advertisement expenditure in another column. Remember this thing, sales revenue is a dependent variable. This time sales revenue is replacing what? Sales revenue is replacing total overheads, because sales revenue is depending upon advertisement expenditure. If advertisement expenditure of a company will rise, it will definitely increase the sales revenue. If advertisement expenditure of a company will fall, it will definitely reduce our sales revenue. So advertisement expenditure is independent variable. It means what? Advertisement expenditure is what it is treated as fixed overheads, or sorry, it is treated as activity level. It is treated as either highest activity level, or it is treated as either lowest activity level. So independent variable is what? Independent variable is advertisement expenditure, and dependent variable is what? Dependent variable is sales revenue. So I would like to show you, if examiner is going to ask question relating to this sales revenue and advertisement expenditure, and you can expect a 2 marks MCQ from this sales revenue and advertisement expenditure, because examiner knows that most of the students will be confused with this type of MCQ. In this case, your step number one is not variable overheads per unit. Your step number one is variable sales per $1, or you can simply write variable sales per dollar. Why are you writing per dollar? Because your denominator and numerator both are dealing with the dollar values. This time there is no units, there are no hours. You are using what? You are saying highest advertisement expense rather than highest activity level. You are saying lowest advertisement expense rather than lowest activity level. And then you will say high sales revenue because revenue is replacing total overheads. And you will say lowest sales revenue because it is replacing what? It is replacing total overheads of the lowest activity level. So this is your step number one. When your step number one has changed, now you know that, or you should understand that what to do in step number two. Step number two conceptually remains the same. So rather than total variable overheads, this time you will calculate total variable sales is equal to variable sales per dollar into highest advertisement expenditure or lowest advertisement expenditure. Just like variable overheads per unit multiplied by highest activity level or lowest activity level. Similarly, you can decide either to use high advertisement expense or to use low advertisement expense. And the third step is same, which is to calculate total fixed sales. This time you are not calculating total variables, total fixed overheads. You are calculating total fixed sales because there will be a certain number of amount of sales which remains fixed. It will not fall or it will not rise or it will not vary with the level of advertisement expenditure. Is equal to what? It is equal to total sales revenue minus total variable sales. And the same concept, if you are using total sales revenue of the highest advertisement, you will use total variable sales from the highest. If you are using total sales revenue from the lowest, you will subtract total variable sales of the lowest advertisement expenditure or lowest activity level. This time advertisement cost is replacing with the overheads, replacing with the units or hours or any other activity level if provided. Activity level could be square meters, activity level could be yards, activity level could be square feet, activity level could be any measurement unit which is driving our total overheads or it can drive our sales revenue. Any question? Understood now? Okay. Now another third concept which is relevant with the high-low method is what? Which is, this one is called simultaneous equation. I will do an MCQ with you which deals with simultaneous equation. High-low method with simultaneous equation basically. High-low method with simultaneous equation. Simply, I would like to explain that whenever you are using simultaneous equation, you will find a digit which is multiplied with the two equations and it will equate your one of the numbers. We will just solve an MCQ in a moment, which will equate your one of the movements and you will be able to calculate your required value. Simply remember one thing, simultaneous equation is needed only when if fixed cost per period and variable overheads per unit both are not provided. So whenever both are not provided, you will use what? You will use high-low method. Clear everyone? Any question relating to these areas?